Hello, my name's Craig Hamilton Parker and I'm a medium. I've been a medium most of my working life, a professional medium. And in my work I like to teach students, and today I'm going to talk about one of my books called Psychic School. That's a plug, folks. And it's all about how to develop your own psychic abilities. Now, I've written lots of books about this subject, but this book in particular, I'll be telling you about how to set up a mediumistic circle and perhaps go a little bit deeper than you might with most books. Now, if you're going to be a psychic or a medium, you're going to have to practice. Because whether you use my book or you use other people's books or you use YouTube videos or workshops and so forth, you can only go so far with that. Now, if you're just on your own and you really can't find anywhere, I mean, the way to do it, I suppose, is beginning really with meditation. Because if you develop meditation, you will naturally develop what they call in the East the siddhi powers, the psychic powers. But they're not to be sought for their own sake. In meditation, you seek enlightenment, you seek awareness, and siddhi powers come naturally. So in my book, I've talked a lot in there about the reasons why you want to develop your powers. You know, you need to go through a process of asking yourself if this is the right path for you. Because, you know, it's not an easy path. There's a lot of karmic things that will occur when you follow this path as a medium, because you will have to learn to empathize. And in order to empathize, you have to learn sometimes to suffer a bit. So it's not all glory and light. It's not Harry Potter, you know. It's not suddenly I'm a magician and I can do all these amazing things and I can go on television. I mean, there are twits out there that do all that. But there are people also who genuinely work to become mediums as an act of service. Anyway, I'm going on. But if you want to develop, you just don't have to use my book. You have to also practice. And one of the best places I would suggest, if you live in the UK, look into spiritualism. Because in spiritualism there's all sorts of opportunities. Most spiritualist churches, and I don't like that church word because they are centres, I suppose I prefer to call them, but they have associated with them development groups where you can, for example, join an awareness group first of all and start to see and practice a few psychic things in a big open circle. And then if you'll develop further, you can then be maybe invited to join a mediums development group where you can develop and sit for spirit. Similarly, a lot of mediums, like myself sometimes, work independently of spiritualism too and offer workshops, but more importantly, ongoing development circles. Now, my book, there it is again, folks, Psychic School, tells you all about this and how to get started, how to recognise your mediumistic gift, what a medium is, because remember, a medium is different to a psychic. The psychic gifts can be developed quite easily, but the mediumistic gifts can take a bit longer. So it shows you how to sit at home and form your own group. So I'm suggesting in the book you find a group of friends and work together, and maybe even use this book as a sort of a workbook to help you to develop your skills collectively. It can be read as you can read it as an individual and thoroughly enjoy it and get a lot out of it. But you know, I'm encouraging you all the time to take it a stage further. Now, the first exercises I teach in it are kind of simple things, games almost, that you can practice between yourselves as a group, and it breaks down the barriers. It gives you some instant understanding if you can do basic psychic things. I'm talking about things like telepathy. I'm talking about things like being able to predict things. Psychism is fairly easy to develop. But the mediumistic takes a bit of a harder path. Well, not harder, it's harder I suppose in some ways, but it takes more dedication. And my way of starting out teaching people with this is what we call psychometry. Now that's holding an object and talking about the owner of that object, not about the object itself. So you're talking about who owned it, their vibrations, what they were like as a person. You build a little story up about how they were or are in life. So that way you start to learn to sense vibration. And this is key to developing your psychic abilities. So what I teach you first in the book is to develop your ability to link into objects. And of course you need somebody sat with you so they can say yes or no to that. So you might initially get do a little experiment with it, and it goes all wrong completely, and you get it all wrong, and you feel, and they think, oh, that's all right, we'll try again. And then another time you might get it 100%, and everybody's saying, oh, that's great, and it gives you great encouragement to get on and try. And it also makes you a bit critical of yourself, so you don't think, oh, I've got it all the time, I'm a medium, I know all this. No, you don't. You have to practice it and try it out. So that's your way in, through psychometry. That's what I start to teach you. And I also show you how to sort of extend that a bit further, particularly through things like being able to link to the aura. So this is like the energy field around somebody. Now once you start to do that, and you don't just see colours and things, but you start to sense and pick things up from that person, words, thoughts, feelings, what they've done today, you know, all those things are held in this auric field around us, this energy field, this life force. And that teaches you to connect with someone. And I find once people see the aura, once people make that big leap to be able to connect to the aura, they start to get this level of telepathy and clairvoyance and extrasensory perception that connects between two people. Then you're on the path towards mediumship, which is still on a psychic level here. This is the first part of psychic school. The next thing is to see beyond those emotions and feelings that are around the person and connect further and deeper into what's coming from the spirit world, because in that aura there's also other thoughts coming through from the spirit people that you can connect to. And of course, by working in a group, you start to be able to give proof. So you can say, your grandfather was on the spirit side, I've got to give a name so and so, I've got to give this information and that information about him, and give evidence. That's the important thing. All the time I'm stressing the importance of verifiable evidence, so that you're not away with the fairies. You can prove that these things that are coming into your head are real spirit connections. Otherwise, you don't know what's spirit and what's not. You know, and that's why, and I do sort of go off a bit about, you know, how people get carried away with things like spirit guides and all sorts of stuff that's not able to be substantiated. I don't like, for example, people that go into trance but don't give any evidence of who that spirit communicator is. So I'm a bit of a maverick there, but I really do strongly believe that we must give good, strong evidence, and that's what I'm trying to teach you in the book. I also then encourage you to take it a stage further. I bring in other things too, such as, you know, once you can sense vibrations, I suggest you go out with groups and do things like work in museums, and if you can, or work with objects with your psychometry that have great history to them, and see if you can tell the archaeologists things about things from the past, or at sites, take your group to sites and see if they can find out things about that site without knowing anything about its history. Similarly, ghosts are a bit like that. You know, ghost hunting's a bit of a weird sort of thing for a lot of people. It gets a bit silly most of the time. But supposing you go to places that are allegedly haunted, can we give verifiable information about that place, not just fantasies and firing cameras off getting orbs, you know, real stuff. So there's a lot of, I'm quite critical in there sometimes, but I'm trying to encourage people to develop real psychic skills, not fantasy psychic skills. So you can do that. There's all sorts of external things you can do outside of the development circle, which would probably be held in your home or something like that. But then I show how you can take a group a bit further and become like that dove that's on the front of the book, a fledgling, a flying bird. You know, you've got to leave the nest eventually. And I show you how to start out in the world of demonstrating as a medium. If you're working within spiritualism, you'll find it will be easy because the churches will give you an opportunity to do what they call a fledgling evening, where you can demonstrate your skills as a group sometimes. If you're doing it alone, you might hire a small hall and give it a try. Invite a group of friends. And I take you through the stages, not just from there, but how to present yourself, how, if you're thinking, if those that are more advanced may want to go become professional mediums. So I talk a lot about how Jane and myself, because my wife Jane's a medium too, how we entered the media and did our work on television and so forth. But also about how, you know, you could demonstrate in public venues, in churches, if you're spiritualism, in small halls or theatres or TV, you know. But all the time it's important, you know, that we don't go out there spreading a lot of misinformation and ego. We've got to go out there and spread the true message of spirit. done with a feeling of compassion, a feeling of service to others, you know, because if we don't do that, we're just on ego trips and we're just giving shallow psychicism. Because what passes off at the moment as mediumship on television is the most lowest levels you could find of mediumship, where they get a tiny little bit of evidence. Oh, isn't that marvellous? Isn't that wonderful? Look what I've got. I managed to get someone's name. Huh, big deal. Have you guys not seen what spiritualism can do? Anyway, that's what I'm like. But the book, I hope, will help to encourage you to not just develop psychism, not just develop mediumship, but to develop high quality, powerful mediumship with strong evidence. Remember, this isn't about ego games. This should be a divine calling, something that's called you to do this work. And I hope this book will help to encourage you to find that, as I've found it, I hope. So anyway, I've ranted on a lot about the book, but you can also come and ask questions, because I've got a psychic website with forums, and I've got a lot of spiritualists working there. And if you come to the website, you can come to the website and ask questions on the forums, and we've got a live chat room where you can chat to people and ask people about any questions you might have and get some help. And of course the book's published on Amazon, as you can probably see on the bottom of this YouTube, and it's also available from my website. So please do come along, ask some questions at our site, buy the book I hope, and subscribe to this channel. Thanks.